April 18th, 1906, a devastating earthquake struck San Francisco, followed by raging fires. Estimates put the final death toll range between 3,000 and 6,000. 1775, Paul Revere began his famous ride from Charlestown to Lexington, Massachusetts. The aim was to warn colonists that British regular troops were approaching. 1983, bombing in Beirut. 63 people, including 17 Americans, were killed at the U.S. Embassy in Beirut, Lebanon, by a suicide bomber. 1955, physicist Albert Einstein died in Princeton, New Jersey. He was 76. 1999, hockey superstar Wayne Gretzky retired at the age of 38.
It's hard. This is a great game, but it's a hard game, and I'm ready.
The Great One logged 20 seasons in the National Hockey League. He is the only NHL player to total more than 200 points in one season, a feat he accomplished 4 times. April 19th, 1995. In Oklahoma City, a truck bomb destroyed the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. The blast killed 168 people and injured hundreds more. Timothy McVeigh was later convicted and executed for the bombing. 1775, the American Revolution began as colonial militias in Massachusetts fought British troops at the battles of Lexington and Concord. 2005, Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger of Germany was elected Pope. He took the name of Benedict XVI. He became head of the Roman Catholic Church just weeks after the death of Pope John Paul II. 1993, a fiery end to the 51-day siege at the Branch Davidian compound near Waco, Texas. Flames consumed the structure after federal agents began smashing their way inside. Cult leader David Koresh and dozens of his followers died in the fire. 1956, Oscar-winning actress Grace Kelly married Prince Renier of Monaco and became Princess Grace.
April 20th, 1889. Adolf Hitler, dictator of Nazi Germany who ruled for more than a dozen years, was born in Austria. Hitler's Third Reich brought World War II and the Holocaust that killed 6 million Jews in Europe. 1999, 2 students went on a shooting rampage at Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado. They killed a dozen classmates and a teacher inside the school before taking their own lives. 1980, the first Cubans sailed to the United States as part of the massive Mariel boat lift arrived in Florida. Over the next few months, more than 125,000 Cubans reached the U.S. by boat in the exodus from Fidel Castro's regime. 1939.
There's no question in my mind. This is the greatest game that has ever been invented.
Baseball Hall of Famer Ted Williams made his Major League debut with the Boston Red Sox. And 1951. Soul singer Luther Vandross, whose romantic songs included Here and Now, was born in New York.
April 21st, 1910. Writer and humorist Mark Twain died of heart disease in Redding, Connecticut at age 74. Among his works, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, and The Prince and the Pauper. 1926.
We can make sense of the future if we understand the lessons of the past.
Britain's Queen Elizabeth II, who has ruled for more than half a century, was born in London. 1918. During World War I, Baron Manfred von Richthofen, the German flying ace known as the Red Baron, was killed in action. And 1970, New York, the musical Annie, based on the Little Orphan Annie comic strip, opened on Broadway.
April 22nd, 1994. In New York, former U.S. President Richard Nixon died at age 81, just days after suffering a stroke. Nixon pursued Cold War détente that wound down America's military role in the Vietnam War. But he became the only president to resign when the Watergate scandal forced him from office. 1889, the Oklahoma land rush began at noon. Thousands of homesteaders rushed to stake claims to land in what is now the state of Oklahoma. 1970, millions of people concerned about the environment observed the first Earth Day. The demonstration became an annual event that's now observed around the world. 1937.
Get out of my way, son. You're using my oxygen, you know what I mean?
Actor Jack Nicholson was born in the U.S. state of New Jersey. Among his movie roles, Chinatown, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, The Shining, Terms of Endearment, and As Good as It Gets.
April 23rd, 1564.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
William Shakespeare was believed to have been born on this day in Stratford-upon-Avon, England. The poet and dramatist known as the Bard, one of the greats in world literature, died on the same day, 52 years later. 1998, James Earl Ray, confessed assassin of Martin Luther King Jr., died at a Nashville hospital at the age of 70. Once behind bars, Ray later insisted he had been framed, alleging a conspiracy behind the civil rights leader. 1993.
We're going to go to the public and ask him not to eat grapes.
U.S. labor leader Cesar Chavez died in Arizona at the age of 66. Chavez, who organized migrant farm workers, led boycotts and strikes to secure bargaining agreements with growers. 1954. Hank Aaron, with what's then the Milwaukee Braves, began his long climb to become baseball's all-time home run king. Aaron hit the first of his 755 career home runs during a 7-5 win over the St. Louis Cardinals. April 24th, 1980. 8 U.S. servicemen were killed when an aborted mission to free the American hostages in Iran ended in disaster. U.S. President Jimmy Carter.
It was my decision to attempt the rescue operation. It was my decision to cancel it when problems developed in the placement of our rescue team for a future rescue operation.
The following year, Iran freed the hostages on Carter's last day in office after 444 days in captivity. 1916. The Easter Rising began in Ireland. Some 1,600 Irish nationalists seized several key sites in Dublin, aiming to end British rule over the entire Emerald Isle. British forces crushed the armed rebellion almost a week later. 1915. The Ottoman Empire, home of modern-day Turkey, began a mass deportation of Armenians during World War I. About 600,000 Armenians died of starvation or were killed in the forced exodus. Hundreds of thousands more were driven into exile. 1942. Barbra Streisand, singer, actress, director, and producer, was born in Brooklyn, New York.